Welcome back to Jersey Matters. We've been talking about the 2019 election in New Jersey, and we want to talk about the 2020. But before we get to that, we'd be remiss not to point out that it's not just the assembly seats. It's not just the special election for the Senate in District 1. There's a lot of local seats that if enthusiasm gains in for a mayor election or a freeholders election, that can affect the assembly races.
Larry, you're 100% right. It's literally a trickle-up effect. So take my home county. We have a very contested local mayor's race in our biggest town. It's a town that we're outnumbered as Republicans 2-1.
Where's this?
Phillipsburg, New Jersey, the only Democratic town in my county. It's a Democratic mayor, but 2 years ago we swept all 3 council seats because we just worked that grassroots. And in a deal like this, where you have low voter turnout, we're chasing those 1 and 2 and 3 Republicans, the ones that don't vote in that 4th off-year election. Every one of those that we drag to the polls is an extra vote in the bank for us.
So you think you can pick up a mayor's seat in Phillipsburg? If you pick up the mayor's seat, that necessarily will affect the assembly race.
100%.
And so you're looking at that strategy across the state?
Absolutely.
Let's talk about 2020, because everybody is talking in Washington about impeachment. And when they talk about impeachment, they talk about these first-term congressmen or someone like Josh Gottheimer, who is in a Republican district but is a moderate, and how this would affect them. And it seems like they're trying to protect all of them, and there's 5 of them in New Jersey. It seems like they're trying to protect those voters from making any statements or having to vote on impeachment right now. So those seats would be ripe for Republicans, right? I
think they are.
Even without impeachment, they're ripe for Republicans.
Agreed. They're targeted by the Republican National Committee, by the National Republican Committee, 100%.
So we have Tom Kean Jr. now running against Malinowski. Who else?
So down in 2, Van Drew's seat, Lobiondo's old seat, Van Drew, 3.
But we don't have candidates yet.
There are candidates poking around in every one of them. It's a little early, but there are candidates. Tom got out real early, and he's been an aggressive fundraiser, but there'll be candidates in every one of those districts. We are paying attention to them all.
And every one of the districts you're talking about, it's either a Republican district or it is a toss-up. It's very close in registration.
So it's 2, it's 3, it's 5, it's 7, and it's 11. The president won all but 7 in 16, 2, 3, 5, and 11. We only lost 7 by 1 point. So these are all districts that voted for the president in 16. They will vote for the president in 2020. This impeachment debate, quite frankly, it's generating a lot of enthusiasm for us. It's not alienating voters on our side. Strategically, I think Nancy Pelosi sat around and waited on this on purpose. She got dragged into impeachment by that radical left side of her party. She knows this is a losing spot for them. And you've got 5 freshman congresspeople who in a little less than a year are going to have 0 record to run on. They have no record on defense, no record on economy, no record on healthcare. They're going to be up against the president that's kind of hitting out of the park on all of those topics.
But it's one of those races where locally, do you have as much control? Because it is such a national election. It becomes such a national election in 2020. It has to do a lot with who's at the top of the ticket. So in a Democratic state, where you had 20% in 2019, you might have 60% in 2020.
No doubt, and there's a bunch of moving parts, some of which we alluded to earlier. Those local races matter, the county races matter, but districts that vote with the president, that's where those 5 districts are targeted for a reason.
Yeah, because you can get at Republican vote. You believe you can get at Republican vote. Mikey Sherrill, Tom Malinowski, Andy Kim,
Van Drew, and Josh Gottheimer.
Josh Gottheimer's not a freshman, though. Josh
Gottheimer's not a freshman, but it's a targeted district. It's a Republican district.
I'm going to go back to Murphy real quick. You brought up the comment he made about taxes. Let's talk about one tax in particular, the millionaire's tax. Will that ever happen?
I don't think so. I mean, I think you got a Democratic caucus that understands it's a bad policy too. The governor's dug his heels in, but I don't think it's going anyplace.
Republicans going to take a position on the legalized marijuana referendum?
You'd have to ask the caucuses. I mean, look, those policy decisions are really driven by our Senate leader, our minority leader, and we take lead from them.
Does that affect the race? The fact that that's on the ballot?
The Democrats can't even get on the same page, on marijuana. So, we'll see how this thing trickles out over the course of the next few months.
That's why they punted it to the public.
No doubt.
To decide on this.
Absolutely.
I would have thought that the Republicans were going to come out against it, but I guess that has to be researched.
It's geographical. I mean, the different peoples have different opinions on it, depending where you go. I mean, I have my personal opinions, but again, from a party perspective, from a caucus perspective, that falls into 2 legislators' camps.
But your belief is it's going to affect the other races. races? Well, people are going to come out just for that.
I
right?
think there'll be people, geographically speaking, that come out strongly on that issue one way or the other, and depending on who's being driven to the polls, it'll have impacts on candidate races.
And your hope would be in the Republican districts, there's going to be
plays
people
into our
coming out.
hands.
Yeah, exactly. Got it. Thank you so much.
Always a pleasure,
Always a
Larry.
pleasure to talk
Thank
to
you.
you. Doug Steinhardt, chairman of the New Jersey Republican Committee. Jersey Matters continues right after this. When Jersey Matters comes right back, we will continue our preview of the November 5th election with a look at the special election for the New Jersey Senate in South Jersey. That's when we come right back.